Welcome, my Vatos Locos, and welcome, Eric. There you are, buddy. All right, I'm going to invite you up. I know there's music playing. I will accept your request. The music's going to just play for just a little bit. We're letting people come in.
This is great. Do you choose this wait music?
How dare you, sir? How dare you? No, I didn't. It sounds like a minstrel. Minstrels was what were those guys called back in the olden days?
Yeah, the minstrels. I feel like I'm in the middle of my D&D game that I just like.
Oh, then you weren't saying that as an insult. Okay, got it.
No, not an insult at all.
Yeah, and it's a little annoying, but then as soon as we get a few more people in, I will send the white box down into the audience and the music ends, and then we can start our show. What's your website so I can add it to the portrait that's right below you?
You know what?
Or what do you like?
Let's do, because we've actually got what kind of site do you?
You tell me. I can do your personal one. I can do for Improv Wizards.
Yeah, let's do our
whatever you want.
Let's do our improvwizards.com/workshop, because we have a free workshop coming up, and so if anyone comes in here, they can take advantage.
Improvwizards.com/workshop.
Yeah.
Perfect. It is kind of Muzak-ish, as Bill Cott said. Zach Galifianakis. Improvwizards.com/workshop. Any other website you want me to put up, so that people can just click on it right from that portrait.
Oh, yeah. You can, put my why not? Instagram.com/Eric Artell. It's always.
Instagram.com/ and it's just your name?
Just my name. So
with two L's.
With two L's. And as you know, since I just joined it, this is my first Fireside experience.
Wonderful. Well, I hope we do not let you down. We've got some people already in, so we can start any time. And then I'll just, at the top of the show, I just usually say, who my special guest is. As soon as I set the wait box down. Oh, almost forgot the most important thing. Let me invite you to camera, if you don't mind. I
didn't know that this is a video.
Absolutely, if you're okay with that. And there's people in the audience.
I am okay with that. Hold on, can you give me 1 minute?
Yeah, of course. Put your pants on.
Yeah, no. I've got a little child on my lap, so I'm gonna have to put her elsewhere so that she's not on.
Yeah, of course,
on the camera.
Yeah.
So give me 1 minute, and I'll we can have more minstreling. As I'll be right back.
Of course. Hopefully, more of this wonderful music will keep playing. Hey guys, what do you think of my backdrop? If you're not on Fireside, you're missing the live show. So, my hair's a mess. Maybe I should have kept the camera. Oh my God, Charlotte, hello, and Sebastian. Thanks for being here, guys. The show's going to start momentarily. You know what? I'm going to grab some water. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. We should probably be more prepared, but Eric is in LA or Hollywood or wherever he might be. So as soon as he gets back, how do I look? I applause. How do I look? And if you guys don't mind sharing the room, I know nothing's going on right now, but I'm trying to figure out where's the perfect place to put my camera. Is this?
What we are wearing, Paul? We are wearing almost the same color today.
Of course we are, fellow improviser. Group mind already.
So, do you have access to sound?
To sound?
Yes.
Yes. What do you mean?
Like there was the clapping and there was the.
Oh. Yeah. If you hit react, you can do that. But that's
my goodness.
That's the live audience that will send back feedback, whether it's laughs.
Oh, so Charlotte is doing that.
Charlotte, yes, and you can see above her head. Now she's sending applause. Sebastian goes high. Yeah. So the people in the audience, which I think is great to do a live podcast like this because you get a little bit of that interaction.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and they can if they have questions, they can submit them and whatnot. So I know you're probably very shy to be on camera.
I have a real big problem with it. I've not, let's say this, Paul. Well, you know what? We'll wait until we get started. But I have an interesting thought to share.
Let me send the wait bot down and officially start our show. Mute their microphone. Yes, applause. Thank you,
Waitbot. Thank you,
Waitbot. Being here. Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Paul Vato, and this is Paul Vato Presents. And my very special guest today is Eric Artell, who is a brilliant improviser, sketch artist. He's an actor. He's an improv teacher who is literally one of the best improv teachers. And I've been around improv for a very long time, since the 1900s, folks. And when I tell you that he is brilliant, and his partner and his company, it's amazing. And he's also the host of, how do I get this correct? You're the host of America's AFV prank show on online.
Prank Academy. Yes, Prank Academy.
It's brilliant. And with over 4 million TikTok followers. But that's, obviously that's not what makes us who we are, but that's, I think, an integral part of who we are and what we do. So Eric, first of all, thank you so much for taking time from your busy day to be here. And I really appreciate it. And you have a small child, so thank you for taking the time to be here.
It's my pleasure, Paul. I mean, it's wonderful. Thank you. And it's wonderful to actually get to interact with you facially, so to speak, because we've only interacted audibly. So this is actually kind of nice. Do you know if there's a way for me to go more full screen on? Can I? Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. I just tap it.
Yeah, and you have a choice. We could either go like this, which I think almost everyone is doing. So on the playback, because it's saved here on the app. If you don't mind, I'll tell you a little bit about the app.
Yeah,
and I'd like to also tell you a little bit about Amway after this. So that's actually.
I need some Tupperware. Do you have?
No, but you can go. The way we are now, and then on the playback, they're just side by side. We can have up to, I think, 4 or 6. I think up to 4 people on video, but you can have up to maybe 8 people on stage. So we could even do some kind of, not today, but if you wanted to bring an improv show here, I think it could be done. Dave Keckner and Paul Valancourt were actually on the app, and we're working on a show, which I think they're still, going to put out sometime. But I know Dave got busy with the film. Or you can go sideways. You can go horizontal, traditional filmmaker style. So if we ever need, if we're going to shoot a show or something, you could almost shoot it. And I think that's what Fireside is looking for, are people to bring shows here, whether it's, there's a home decor show where they come out to people's homes and it's a well-known person that does it. And, it's wide open, and they just connected with an NFT company so that we can then NFT our shows and it's monetized. So, if you ever want to bring, whether it's your workshops here or your prank academy, and it's
improv shows. Are you kidding me? What? This makes perfect sense. All right, great, done. We're gonna do it.
Makes perfect sense. And then it lives on the platform. You can share it, but most importantly, and I think they just set it up so that you can literally, if you have Libsyn, it can just go right to Libsyn right away. What I like to do is download it and edit it. Not really the middle. No, I think people are used to the fact that there might be a few mistakes and ums and whatnot. But I will chop off like that whole beginning and just go right into, hey, welcome, my guest is, so that people get to it right away. But and you can simulcast. You can simulcast to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, which is what we're doing now. So anyone that's there, unfortunately, I haven't set it up so I can read their comments. They'd have to be here on Fireside for me to do that. And then if you get a stream key. So if you're on LinkedIn or any of the other places where you can stream via a stream key, you can go throughout the metaverse. So I love the platform.
Wow, fantastic. And hello to the Facebook. That's all. I just want to say hello.
Hello. I wish you could do it to a TikTok because I was now finally able to. You probably don't know what the feeling is like to not be able to go live. But after I started posting, I got over 1,000 followers. Now I think I have like 5,000. So I'm trying to hit that next 10,000 mark. Thank you. You're too kind. Because you have 4 million followers on TikTok.
Yes, I do. I don't know how many of them are real, but I do. But I do. There are a lot of people on there. Yes, it's a strange feeling. It's a strange feeling, particularly coming from the acting world. Paul, I think you and I coming from the acting world and now being in this digital space, it is a very. We didn't grow up. We didn't cut our teeth in the digital space. It's a completely different relationship that you have with the camera, with what you're doing, with your performing. As actors, we don't have any immediate feedback on what we do. We have very little feedback on what we do. The only feedback we get as actors on what we do is either your agent calls really happy, or your agent calls really mad, or you're in a show and maybe it gets good ratings or it doesn't, and right. Unless you're a regular on the show, that's not really your fault, or it's not your feather in your cap, right? So it's a much different environment as an actor in this digital space where there's immediate feedback, there's and sometimes it's not mentally good. I will just say that sometimes it's not mentally good.
I know. And I mean, I think, they know what they're doing. They've done these studies where, it's like a dopamine hit. It's the same thing that you get from sugar or from, dare I say, drugs, heroin or whatever it is that hits that part. And that's exactly right. And I'm in the casino, and for 10 years, I was inside a casino. And you start learning about the psychology of gambling and whether it's nicotine or, the poisons that they put in cigarettes or whatever, but not nicotine, that's natural. But, the gambling, the slot machines, it all hits that part of the brain. And I think that the social media does the exact same thing because, I just hit 275,000 views on a video of two dogs like air humping. And it's great. I'm like, whoa, at first it was 16,000. Oh, that's great. You check in 50,000, 100,000, 250,000. And I'm like, whoa. And on TikTok, I had one go up to like 750,000. And for me, those are big numbers.
Those are big numbers.
Let me post again. Let me see if it happens again. It's exactly like the slot machines, because then all of a sudden, after many posts, all of a sudden it's like, boom, here's your $1 million. And you're like, yeah, let's keep going. And, and I get it. And it probably doesn't mean a lot to you as far as, you get some that probably have millions of views. So you're used to it, but it's just, I think where you're at. And that doesn't, of course, define us, but it's I think we're all in that same thing. I'm sure that if you only get 100,000 views, you're like, why isn't this getting more? And then, until you get 1 million views or something, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that you say it doesn't define us, but it's really hard not to let it define you. It's very hard to not let it define you. And I think what's also now interesting with the accessibility of TikTok, Instagram, but really with the accessibility of TikTok and the way that they've algorithmically made it so that anybody posting can have something that goes viral. There's such a danger of letting it define us. I mean, I clearly remember, and it still happens, but I clearly remember when my first TikTok went like viral, uber viral. I mean, millions and millions and millions of views, and just you're checking it all the time. You're checking it. You're looking at your followers grow. It's just, there's that addiction, and then you're right. You let it start to define you, and boy, it is dangerous. And we as actors, we have a lot of insecurities as it is. Like we have a lot of issues as it is. We do not need these new issues when it comes to social media, digital content. But
no,
here it is, and it's here to stay. Like it's not going away. It's not going away.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's not. And like you said, back in my day, we didn't have all this TikTok and Twitters and.
Yeah, back in my day, we didn't have TikTok. If you wanted to hear a TikTok, you went down to the local German clockmaker. Put your ear next to a clock. It's fun. It's fun.
And look how specific you are, and that's from the world of improv. Not just to a clockmaker, a German clockmaker, and we start picturing these things. But you're right. I mean, it's you're checking and seeing how many followers did you have when you got that first viral video on TikTok that had millions and millions. Did you already have millions of followers, or
no.
were you? Okay,
no, I didn't. I had probably amassed. It's a good question. I was in the hundreds of thousands.
Got it. Okay, fair enough.
I was in the hundreds of thousands. But at the time, it was different. It was very different. The app was different.
Back in my day,
when you posted a viral video, the only viral thing you got was when you were kissing your school friend under the bleachers. And it was it. Yeah. So I think I was in the 100,000s when I had something that went like uber viral. But now you see it with people who have, a couple of hundred followers, and you can be scrolling TikTok and you'll see a video that has millions of views with somebody who has, a few hundred followers. It's just so interesting how they've built it, and it's really smart on their part. So it's interesting just as creators, because you're a creator and I'm a creator. As creators, it's kind of like this double-edged sword, right? Or I don't know if it's called really a double-edged sword, but it's like, well, you make something that you think is really great, and you get rewarded for it with views, and that's great. But then you also realize that the way it's set up, it's also rewarding other things. And then you don't get rewarded for things that you feel like you've put it in a lot of great effort that you think it is great. It's very confusing. It's very confusing.
I guess maybe are you saying that it's about consistency? If it is something that you want to do, grow your social media presence on all these platforms.
Yes, I think for growing a social media presence, certainly consistency is very important. And there are other things you can do in terms of, I will say that what's interesting also, Paul, is, again, when we're actors, and just from my background, I've been an actor for over 20 years in LA and longer than that. But in LA for 20 years, I came to LA in 2000. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. Since you were what, like 5 or 6?
Yeah, I was about 3 years old. I think I was that.
Okay. My apologies. Yeah. I can't believe, I don't know how old you are, but every time I'm like, are your parents there?
I play, no, they're not. And, Mom, Mom, I'm on the phone. No, I play in my 20s, right? I play to 20s. That's all we need to say, right? In Hollywood. But yes, I have been here for a while. And when I got here, I was certainly going out for teenage roles, and I was not a teenager at the time necessarily. And I was like, oh, really? These are the people I'm going out with. But in LA, I think when we start acting, we kind of find some of our sweet spots in terms of what we play and what we can play, right? And so I think some people will view it in a negative light of like you're being pigeonholed or you're being typecast. And I don't like looking at it negatively, because I like looking at it as this is your strength. This is in your wheelhouse. It's like your wheelhouse, and milk your wheelhouse, right? That's what I like to look. That's what I like to view when it comes to acting. And sorry, I got a little stuffy nose. whoops, but I like, it's typecasting in my view is really more about a wheelhouse. And if that's what people like to hire you for, do it. Like, do it and do it and do it really well. And then other opportunities will come. But do it and do it really well and take advantage of it, because Hollywood does not want a lot of people. So if they want you for something, great, do it.
Yeah.
And let them want you. So that's kind of my personal view on it. And I know other people have different views, and some people feel like artistically that's not the way to look at it. And I respect that. But I think also it doesn't mean you can't explore other things. Now in the world of digital content creation, we can explore anything that we want to do. But when it comes to Hollywood, if Hollywood wants you to do certain things or be certain things, well, just take advantage of it. And that's a golden opportunity. And then you can use digital content creation to expand your horizon. And then maybe Hollywood will catch on. But the only reason I share this is because, well, like I've certainly get typecast in certain ways, but B, content creation, it also happens for content creators. Like they will hit on something that strikes a nerve, and if you don't milk it, then you've lost a golden opportunity. Like if you like your dog's having an amorous moment, right? Hey, why not find another one and do it, right? I mean, it struck a nerve, and people liked it for a certain reason. People, if someone is doing certain videos, I was just seeing some guy on TikTok, extremely successful guy. Every video of his, Paul, every TikTok that he does is him opening a door and talking to himself sitting on a couch. If you scroll to, that's every TikTok, and he has millions, and he has maybe twice as many followers as I do. He has enormous engagement, and that he just found a niche. It was successful. It struck a nerve, and he just kept pounding it and pounding it, and that's what he does. It's funny. It's really funny. It's a funny series that he does, but that can be really. So you brought up being successful on digital content creation. That can certainly be a great way, is finding something and just pounding it. But what happens is with content creators, just like with actors, just like with any artistic people, they start to think, I'm just doing this over and over again. I'm doing this kind of content over. I want to do something different. But their audience, and it can be difficult to break away from that. But if you found something that's great, just milk it, do it.
Well, yeah. Please, of course. Let's give it up. If you're just joining us, my guest today is Eric Artell, who's a brilliant improviser, actor, comedian, but he also has this phenomenal following on TikTok with over 4 million followers. And I know that we keep saying, well, this doesn't define us, and I keep saying this, but yet we keep talking about it because it is so important, though, especially in this day and age. My brother, who owns his own company, a staffing company, shout out to labor personnel. He was kind of asking me about TikTok. I'm like, he knows that he has to be on it. I'm like, it's not just for kids dancing. I'm like, it has become the number one place that people go to search over Google. At least that's my understanding. So, you can become that expert in labor, in acting, in improv.
In anything. You're right. In fact, funny story, a couple of weeks ago, I was at the grocery store, saw they had a little butcher's sale for some steaks. So bought me a few steaks. And in my mind, the very first thing in my mind that popped up was, I've seen a TikTok about how to make a great steak in a frying pan. And so I searched on TikTok, or I might have actually searched on Google. I searched TikTok steak tutorial or something like that. And then and I don't think it was even the one that I remembered, but it was a very similar one from somebody else, and it was very popular. And then I used that as my tutorial, and I had TikTok open while I was cooking a steak in my kitchen, and it was delicious. It was so good.
Amazing.
And apologies to those who don't eat red meat, but it was so good. But I was watching that TikTok over and over again. I was scrubbing through it because it was like over a minute long, so you could scrub through it, just making sure I had all the steps right. And that is what I went to for a steak cooking tutorial, was TikTok.
Amazing. I wonder if Google actually hates that, because you're literally going to Google that owns YouTube and going, no, show me on TikTok. But
yes,
I think the brilliance of that is that that the video is probably going to be under a minute or 2 or 3, however long. It's not that long, as opposed to sometimes you go over to YouTube and you cooking a steak, and all of a sudden it's a 20-minute with ads and this and that. I mean, on TikTok, you got that information as soon as you needed it. There it was. And like you said, it was delicious and perfect. So that speaks to the power of TikTok and what the platform has transformed itself into as this great search engine. And there's that education on TikTok, or TikTok for learning, etc., TikTok for teaching. And speaking on what you mentioned earlier about kind of sticking to your lane and stereotyping, if you will, if you change it up, you will probably lose followers, or you won't get as many views, because it confuses the algorithm. So you're right, and that's maybe why I'm a little bit all over the place. I kind of just post whatever I feel like posting, because I'm kind of like, well, it's me, the actor. This is kind of the actor's life. Here are some funny memes, and it started because I was a part of that. And I don't know if you've ever seen the video of where I photocopy my butt and I fall in a copier.
Yes, I have.
I mean, it's 15, 16 years old. It was a commercial for Netscape Navigator. And, it was kind of at the beginning of YouTube. So that's what got me my 500,000 views, which at the time I thought was amazing, but it's never grown past that. But now to have one video on TikTok, it's 750. That over 15 years on YouTube, I've only had 500,000. Of course, it's my own fault. I never treated it. I've treated all these as a consumer and not as a content creator, which I've shifted. I'm like, no, instead of just watching YouTube videos, let's create the videos, let's create the TikToks, let's do all that. But so I had kind of that early on experience of a viral video that went all over the world, and even on terrestrial television. I had my cousins from Mexico call and go like, is this you? I'm like, yeah, it's a commercial. I have to let them know first that I'm not really that big of an idiot.
So. It is great. I have seen it. And but you bring up such a great point. I mean, it is, YouTube was not accessible to everybody. It was hard. You had to have the right equipment and editing. I mean, obviously editing now and filming is a lot easier, but it's still not as accessible as a creator. TikTok is so accessible for anybody. And I don't care what you do. It does not matter what you do. And it does not matter what business you have. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. You can post to TikTok. It is so easy. And I'm not an employee of TikTok. So, but just it's become a big part of sort of what I do, and not necessarily what I do, but sort of, it doesn't define me. Like we said, Paul, it doesn't define me. But
it doesn't define you. But let me ask you this: when and I'm serious, back in my day, we didn't have the film editing equipment in our pocket. But when you create for TikTok, are you specifically creating for TikTok, or are you creating content with a good camera, or even with your phone, and editing off the platform and then just putting it up, or do you actually shoot via use their platform to film?
I almost always shoot in like camera roll with my phone or with camera, and then edit, and then I'll just upload to whatever platforms I want to share it to. Because now you've got YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels and Snapchat, and there's so many Pinterest and LinkedIn, so many different places you can post these short form videos, and I do not in any way pretend to be sort of the greatest example of what to do, because like you, I'm kind of all over the place now. I enjoy too many things. I enjoy doing too many things. Like now I'm having a lot of fun dabbling in what's called animal voiceover, animal dubbing. And it's really fun. And I just with another person that I met on the app on social media, we have just started a series, an animal voiceover series that's going to be really fun. And so that's going to confuse audience. It's going to confuse audiences, but it's really fun and there's a lot of traction. So I certainly don't I don't follow all the advice that I like to give, or all the insights that I like to give. But it also depends on kind of what your goals are ultimately. But yeah, I will usually shoot with my camera, with my phone. I mean, and then just edit. I'll edit in Premiere. I like to do a lot of man on the street interview stuff, and so I'll usually bring that into Premiere and edit it, and then put it out there. But one of the things that I haven't done a lot of, Paul, that I would really like to do is, well, two things really. One, I would just like to do a little bit more fun acting centric type of stuff, whether it's just sort of ridiculous sketch comedy things. I just haven't really focused, because that does take time. That takes more time. That does take more time. But I've always wanted to do some of that, because I feel like as an actor, that type of stuff can help you. I've certainly put a lot of stuff out there that, as a host, because I do a lot of hosting, like AFV's Prank Academy, I'm the host as well of that show. So I've done a lot of stuff in that regard, but I'd like to do more of that. I started doing more of that on the voiceover side, because I'm also a voiceover actor. So that is one thing I would love to do with digital content creation. And then the other thing is I would like to do more on the improv side. Like you mentioned, I teach improv, and we have our Improv Wizards online learning system, and there's just more that we'd like to do, but there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to take a quick break and welcome everyone that's here. For those of you that showed up late, my guest is Eric Artell, improv teacher, and I want to definitely talk about Improv Wizards, which is a great academy in which to learn improv. And you guys are already, do a lot of things complimentary on Clubhouse and whatnot, and those are some great rooms. I feel I'm a seasoned improviser, and I'm always learning from you guys. Or maybe I'm trying to work on my own course and go like, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. But you know what? I probably won't get motivated to do it. But you guys are a wealth of information. But now what you are, on TikTok and to improv, Sebastian in the audience is to LinkedIn. So I don't know what your presence is on LinkedIn, but if you ever have questions, and I hope Sebastian's okay with me, shouting him out this way, but he's like the de facto go-to person for LinkedIn. His name is LinkedIn Seb, as a matter of fact. So, I think, anyone that's in the audience or yourself, Eric, he's someone to connect with. And I want to say, thanks for everyone that's here, for Chris from San Francisco, who does brilliant voiceover, and Charlotte from Australia, who can teach you how to dress. She was a professional butler. And Esther, she dates an Italian. That's all I know about her. No, I'm kidding. Hi, Esther from Canada. And she's also a brilliant content creator on TikTok and all the other platforms. And Peter, who I think is a musician. And so everyone that's here, thank you guys so much for being here and spending time with us. But I definitely also want to get to your Improv Wizards Academy and talk about that, because, as we said, social media and TikTok doesn't define you. But let's go back to TikTok. I'm just kidding. But before I forget, though, your TikTok is hilarious. We're not going to get away from this, but and you know what? If you don't mind, I would love to make this a continuing series. So next time you have time, I'd love to have you back on and we can chat and whatnot. So I love your videos on there. Like that's those snake videos where somebody clips a fake snake. And I can't run fast as it is. So I don't know. I guess I would just, that snake's not going to catch me because, unless I can slide through poop.
Well, it's a plastic snake. So,
of course. Yes, I failed to mention that. It's a plastic snake that people clip onto somebody's belt or purse or whatever. And as they run, of course, the snake is right after them. And those are hilarious. I love your prank phone calls in front of people, like awkward prank phone calls. I think my favorite is the one where you're calling your mom at this age, and telling her that you pooped your pants, I think. And
Yeah, it's there's a common denominator for comedy, and that's what it is.
farts and poop.
Back in my day, we didn't poop our pants.
Back in my day, you couldn't talk about.
Wait a minute, now I do poop my pants.
For the talk.
I'll tell you that those are really fun. It can be when you do things in public, it can be very harrowing, but also it can be very fun. And for a while, I was actually riding a lot of public transportation in LA, and so I would do a lot of those while on public transportation. And so you just kind of I have my hand up on one bar with one phone that's recording. Like, hopefully it's angled correctly, and then my hand on another phone and doing that. And then, man, I remember one time I was doing one where I was doing just sort of selfie recording, and I was just calling people out, like as if I was doing a message to somebody. And like, I was on a bus one time, and there were a couple of guys behind me, and then I just said, I was like, Peter, you owe me money, Peter. Make sure you pay me back. And then all of a sudden, these two guys like look over and they start yelling into the phone. They're like, yeah, you better bleep and pay him back, you mother bleeper. And I'm like, whoa, it was so great. So fun. Just really fun.
Do you get, do they have to sign a release or anything? Or you just put it out there, right? Because they're in public, right?
Yeah, I just put it out there. I think if you're filming specifically for YouTube, and you are going to be earning money on AdSense, I think the proper thing to do is to get releases from someone for that. But for this, just going up on TikTok and stuff, I didn't. Maybe I should have.
Are you monetized on TikTok? And I don't know if this is something you'll be willing to share or talk about.
Not really. No, it is not a good monetization platform. So I've certainly done brand deals on TikTok, and you can look through my TikTok and see some of those, and that's always nice. But yeah, I think I would love to do, and there have been some discussions about doing like some prank shows or like man on the street shows for actual production companies. And then when you do that certainly is something where like you have your handlers who get people to come and, or after you've done it, then they'll come and they'll have the release forms and they'll be like, okay, sign this. And then you have to blur out their faces, etc. So
sure. But it's nice to if you have a team like that where they either set it up ahead of time, like you said, or, folks, this is for this show. If you could just sign, thank you. You've got your PAs to do that. But unfortunately, I think like we're one person show. What are you going? Oh, well, they're gone. All right, whatever, forget it. Yeah. But I think nowadays, and if you're in public, you are free game. So I think nowadays people are just used to, if you're outside, you're being recorded. I spent 10 years in a casino. I know every second of my life in that casino was recorded. So and any casino, really, wherever you walk around in Vegas, whether it's the Strip or Fremont Street, you're being recorded. So there is that, of course.
Yeah.
So I think people are used to it, and I mean, as long as you're not an idiot. Like I heard a story about this kid that was pretending to stick people up with like a rubber knife. He got shot, but it was a prank. The people that go and blow in people's ears like to a stranger. I've seen some nice takedowns.
Yeah, not bright. I think there were some other kids who were doing a prank video where they were running away with a bag that they had money in it, and as if they had robbed a bank, and then they got charged. They eventually got arrested, and it was just for a YouTube video. So you have to be smart with those. And I think you're right. The LA area is certainly a little different of an area when it comes to that. It reminds me of a story, Paul. I got hired to do a job with LeBron James, where he was. So LeBron James, who is a part owner of a pizza place like a fast food pizza place called Blaze Pizza. And so I don't know if you know Blaze Pizza. It's great.
I mean, is there one are there some in Vegas? Because if there is, it's my favorite pizza place.
Yeah. I think it's actually owned by the people who do own Wetzel's Pretzels. So if you've ever been like New York or wherever, Wetzel's Pretzels.
Sure.
So Mr. and Mrs. Wetzel, who I've met now, they started Blaze Pizza, and LeBron James is an investor in Blaze Pizza. And so we were shooting a commercial for Blaze Pizza, and it was a hidden camera commercial. So the conceit of the commercial was I had to get trained to how to be behind the counter making Blaze pizzas with the other employees, but I was a Blaze Pizza employee, and LeBron James was also a Blaze Pizza employee. And his name wasn't LeBron, it was like Ron or something. I think it was Ron for this. And then they had hidden cameras all throughout the restaurant. And to get people's reactions when they had this long line for lunch, the lunch rush came in, and then LeBron comes walking in as an employee, and he's like, I'm training him. And they just wanted to get their reactions, all the people's reactions. Well, they filmed it in the Blaze Pizza flagship shop in Pasadena, California. So when LeBron comes out, instead of there being like everybody being like, wait, that's LeBron, you would think that there would be some sort of big reaction. All people did was they just like looked, and then they just brought up their phones. Like there was no big reactions. There was no. It was so sad. It was so sad. But do you think like here in LA?
Yeah,
because people are so sort of, there's a certain attitude towards things. We did get some funny interactions with some people who kind of knew it had to be LeBron James, but they were very confused. But it was more like confused as opposed to like that giddy. You just think, man, we should have shot this in. He was playing for the Cavaliers at the time. So, or no, I think he was the Lakers. No, he was. I can't remember. But we should have shot in Cleveland or something. If we'd shot it there, then people would have gone crazy. But instead, we shoot it in LA, and it's all just like, oh, I'm gonna take a picture of this with my phone. Let me record this. So
that's what a story, man. And it's I think the jaded nature of LA. Like, oh, there's a celebrity, not like. So maybe it's better for the celebrities that they're just take a photo, but don't
but don't bother me. Exactly.
Don't attack me. How are you doing on time? Because I don't want to take up. I know that
I've got some time. I got time.
Good. Okay. And might you later on consider taking a few questions from our audience, because we can always take them up either to camp. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. There are a few people that like to come up. That would be great. But I didn't ask you this, and we usually start at the beginning, which is, where are you from? And I'd like to find out a little bit about your parents, if you're okay with that, because I always feel like, are they the reason that, obviously, I guess they're the reason why we are who we are, but, finding your way into comedy, specifically improv comedy and all that. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. We traveled a little bit as a family. My dad was an engineer, and so we traveled. So I spent a number of years in England when I was a little kid as well. And in fact, came back to the United States we were there a couple of times, came back to the United States with a natural British accent when I was little.
Sure.
And I feel like those experiences helped me develop just a love of accents. I love doing accents. I love doing voice work. I think that's kind of where some of that came about. But no, grew up in a great household. My parents are very loving, and they have no connection to entertainment whatsoever. And so I think what they did do, unbeknownst to them, or maybe unwillingly, they were just so supportive and so loving as parents. And so, although my dad, I've said before to others, he, a little bit of chagrin that I didn't become an engineer. But I think he, and then also my mom particularly, they've just always been so supportive of anything that I did. So any artistic pursuits that I ever had, like I loved doing theater when I was young. I did a lot of music stuff and sports, just everything. So supportive. the only thing they were not supportive of, and I was not allowed to do, is play football. So that was like the one thing. And I grew up listen, Paul, I grew up in an Italo-American town where football was king.
Sure.
And my dad was like, I have too many friends and coworkers who have permanent limps because of football. So you're not playing football. That was like the one thing that they wouldn't let me do. But other than that, they were just so there. Yes, let's have some plus.
So what you're saying is that they loved you too much, and
they loved me. Yes,
yes,
they loved me too much.
Yeah, I can see why you'd be messed up in the head with that.
Yes, if only they'd loved me too much to keep me away from the mental anguish of being an actor. Like that, if they'd known.
Yeah,
but no, they were just so supportive of us as long as we were making good choices. And so that's the kind of household I grew up in, and I'm so grateful for that, and that's the household that I'm hoping to also encourage as I have a household of my own. And really, I wanted to be a lawyer when I was growing up. I studied economics. I interviewed with investment banks and consulting firms. I was flown out to Boston, to New York, to LA, and just at some point I just realized that this is not what I want to do. And I loved acting. I had gotten the bug again doing theater, and I just thought, well, why not? Why not make a go of it at the time? I'm single and just started having success with it. And so it's been wonderful. But that's kind of where I came from.
Wonderful. Do you have siblings? You said us, or is it?
No, I do. I have 3 older siblings. So I'm the youngest. And so maybe also that was like, well, as long as you're not killing yourself, whatever you want to do, the young one. But yeah, so I grew up I had brothers and sister, and all we're still close. We're still really close. So I just feel very grateful for that.
Did any of them catch the mental illness of acting, or are they?
One of them, one of them went into broadcast journalism, which is like kind of an ugly stepchild of acting, right? And so he's now in academics, and now he's doing community theater.
Oh, wonderful!
So it's great.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, did you get your first acting gigs in New Jersey, or was this New York? Or
no, I was in Utah, and I. Interestingly, I started doing some commercials there and some different projects. And then I got a call from my agent at the time. And I was living in the Salt Lake area. And I got a call from my agent. And there had been, it's really unfortunate. There had been an accident that an actor had who went to the hospital and was filming the next day for a little role in a movie, for a 1-day shoot in a movie. And so they were doing an emergency audition session, and can you go to audition today? Cause it's filming tomorrow or the next day. And so I went and I got that job. And so I got Taft-Hartley'd for SAG through that job. It was one of my first paying actor jobs ever. And everyone's like, you don't know how lucky you are to have gotten Taft. And I didn't. And I'm like, well, I guess I don't. I don't know. I really don't know. And then when I made it down to LA, and I realized, I got really lucky. I got really lucky to be able to join SAG so quickly.
You got lucky, but you brought it. I mean, and it's that thing where you were prepared, and unfortunately, somebody else suffered, and it wasn't, the role. It wasn't meant to be for them, and maybe they went on to bigger and better things, unless, of course, they died. But
they did not. They did not die. So they did. They did recover. So I and then came to LA, and at that time I was doing improv. I really honestly believe. I know we've talked about it. You've heard us talk about it. I know you talk about I honestly believe that had I not been doing improv since the beginning of sort of my professional acting pursuit, I wouldn't have come close to having the same success that I've had. I firmly believe that. And so it's been a great ride.
Did you study improv then in Utah? Was that part of your curriculum, or was it outside of the school, or how did you connect with fellow improvisers? And I'd love to go right to LA, because I know you spent time at the Groundlings as well, or I don't know if training, but I'd love to talk about that.
So I was in an acting class with Lincoln Hope with 2 P's, and he had founded an improv sketch comedy group that in Utah was extraordinarily popular. I mean, selling out huge places. And that was my first as a student. And that was my first experience of seeing improv, because it wasn't really on TV at the time or anything.
Wow.
And oh my goodness, it was just so funny. And so we were in an acting class in Salt Lake together, and he was forming a new improv group and invited me to just come and try it. And I was so nervous. But I tried it and fell in love with it. And we loved doing it together. And so we were performing up in Utah, and then I was also learning there. And then when I came to LA, then I studied at the Groundlings and started doing improv. Also, like, we started doing some iOS shows, and I've never done UCB. I would love to go just do some UCB, because I would love to study more in that realm as well. And then I also very quickly started teaching it, and had my own students teaching improv and like just molding. I mean, there's so many general principles of improv learning, and there's so many books, and there's so many things. And so really you try to distill that into what you think are the most important things and the best ways to teach it. And that's how you kind of become an improv teacher. And,
sure. Of course.
And so I started doing that. And then now I know we've now fast forwarded to LA.
Sure.
But
what year was this? Forgive me for interrupting.
No, that's right. I moved to LA in 2000, and then
as did I.
Oh, great! So yeah, I moved, and then SAG went on commercial strike like right away.
Yeah, of course,
in 2000. So that was great, and it was right after I joined SAG, because I got to LA and I'm like, I got to join SAG, and so so then it was like, okay, now I want to get an agent, and now all of a sudden SAG was on strike, and so agents were like, don't talk to me right now. So then it took a year for me to, I did a mailing. I just did a mailing, mailed headshots, resumes, and cover letter.
What's this you speak of? Mail?
You remember that?
Email, right? Is that
no, actual post office workers. Yeah, I mean, went to Samuel French bookstore.
Sure, got that.
Yep, and found one of those, a couple of those books of like agents in town, which ones are accepting submissions. Yep. And I sent out 6. In fact, my dad came and visited to LA just to come and say hi and just be a supportive dad. And while he was here, we stuffed envelopes together of headshot, resume, and cover letter, and mailed it off to 69 different commercial agencies.
Oh, I just had I think I was triggered. Headshot, resume, and cover letter. Oh, headshot.
Yes, the worst.
Oh my!
But you know what? Maybe not the worst, because like there was a process, right? It was a baked in process, and like you knew that is a way to do it. And now I feel like there isn't, right? Like there's advice, there's opinions for a lot of agents have, and that the network has. But like back in my day, there was a baked in process for like, okay, I could go have lunch with, and I would go have lunch with people moving to LA, and you probably did too. People moving to LA, and they're like, okay, I want to try to break in or whatever. And you're like, okay, here we go. Here's a process. Yep. This is a proven process. People expect it. The industry expects it. This is the way you can do it. And it was very comforting, right? It was in a way very comforting to know that there was this process.
Yes. And you know what? There was something joyful about walking into, especially after you'd already been there for a while, and maybe you were coming back to a casting director's office, and then maybe seeing your physical, actual headshot sitting on their desk or pinned up on the wall, and you're like, all right, I got a chance at this. And maybe you see it move up, when you do your callback, you're like, oh, there was just something so joyful about that. And then handing them the headshot and the resume, or I would print out the resume in the back of my headshot, because I had a laser printer
fancy
on the back. They'd be like, "Oh, wonderful!" Like, "Oh, this guy's saving paper," and you just wanted to make it as easy for them as possible. Unless they were specific, like, no, print it out and staple it. You're like, okay, whatever you need. But there was some. I remember once I started working, and I was actually Nicole. Is that her name? Nicole Garcia, I think, who was the casting director at Mad TV. And if I would just hang out there on Fridays, and so sometimes they put me in stuff, and it was because I interviewed Chris Cluse, who was an Emmy-Award-winning writer, and he was a writer on Mad TV. That's where I met him. And he goes, "You guys were here all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, because we could eat, we could drink, especially on the weeks when they were filming the show." And somehow I don't know if I was actually auditioning for Nicole for something, but I was in her office, and I look over, and there's a VHS tape of Salsation, which was my improv group that I started in Chicago and still going. But it was sitting, and I think I just got distracted. I'm like, I go, you have our tape. I go, that's. She goes, oh. She goes, yeah. She goes, yeah. She goes, I've watched it. She goes, you guys are really funny. And I was like, wow. And there was just something. My heart just like exploded to see a VHS tape that that's how long ago this was. Sitting there with our name on it that I remember submitting to them, like, hey, consider anyone from our group for Mad TV type of a thing, thinking that it would have been thrown away. And there it was. So I don't know. There is something about physical or tactile things that now, if you walk in, what can the back side of a computer tell you? Nothing. You don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah. I mean, if you get to walk in, because now, like, if you're on Zoom or whatever, or you're on Blue Jeans or whatever it might be that they're using, and you know what that is, Paul? That's exactly what we talked about earlier about that dopamine rush, about that is what the digital content creation and getting views on a video now is, right? That it's the same type of thing where you're like, oh, my efforts are, are being rewarded, or like, they like me. That's yeah.
That is it. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, Eric. That's wonderful, and I agree with you. I mean, without improv, that's my whole life. As far as if it wasn't for improv, I wouldn't have. Oh, it's so funny. I didn't mean to brag. Oh, where did I leave it? I just got a check from my first gig, which was What About Joan, which was the Joan Cusack show that they were filming because she lived in Chicago with her attorney husband and didn't want to leave Chicago, so they were doing her show there, and that's the first show that I got on. And that right before I moved to LA. And that's kind of what kept me in Chicago a little bit longer. And I just got a check for 38 cents. But once they take everything out, I think it's that I got a nice, healthy check for 14 cents. So I'd
strong.
Like to do TikTok.
Very strong.
For Love it. 22 years ago. And so I'm like, man, I just got to get to be the lead on a show. Then we're talking. We got to be a regular on a TV show.
Yeah, that's so true. But yeah, so that was back in 2000, our time of entrance into when I was starting to do all that improv stuff. And
where did you live?
I always lived like in the west, in sort of the west side area, near Westwood and in that area.
Did you ever go to Lloyd's Theater? Was it the Mission Improbable or what?
I never did. No. I didn't.
West Side Improv. It seems like
okay. So West Side Improv now, like right near 3rd Street in Santa Monica.
I believe so.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So interestingly, before that opened up in the early 2000s, my improv group, right across the alleyway from West Side Improv, there's like this door. It's a very sketchy looking door that you go downstairs. Actually, in the alleyway, you go down these stairs into this lower level basement door, and through that door, there was like a couple of rooms and sort of these chairs set up. And we used to do every Friday night improv show in that little place. It was called Underground Comedy. And some guy who owned a pizzeria was running this underground comedy place. I think it was called like 3rd Street Underground Comedy or something like that. And it was fun. We were doing an improv show every Friday night. Trying to get the masses out. Sometimes we'd sell it out, which would mean like maybe 50 people would come, in just this packed little place. Just so fun. And just really cutting your teeth too on, that's the thing also, Paul, as you know about improv, like one of the things that it really helps cut your teeth on is overcoming fears.
Yeah.
Because you are going out there and you have nothing prepared, and you are performing in front of strangers, friends, family, whoever it might be, and you're just taking those blind steps, and you learn the tools to help you succeed in the best way, but it is just such an amazing training ground for overcoming those fears and for letting your creativity, like just trusting your instincts, trusting your creativity, trusting your mind, like saying yes and to yourself. Because I think that's, it's really interesting. Lincoln and I, so my friend Lincoln Hope, as we fast forward through the story of LA, we have been friends for a long time. We've made content a long time. And a few years ago, we thought, let's put together an online improv learning system. Like nobody really does this yet. Mm-hmm. And so we created a learning system that you can learn improv at home, using videos, play along materials, bonus materials. And so that's why we created Improv Wizards and improvwizards.com.
It's such a great name, Improv, because you guys are improv wizards. You and Lincoln with 2 P's really are improv wizards, and you have such a natural way, and you're so communicative, such a great way of teaching and making people feel comfortable. Because I've seen you guys interact with brand new improvisers or people that have never improvised to seasoned improvisers, and even seasoned improvisers get knowledge from what you guys are teaching. So new improvisers, which is not easy sometimes for someone that's never improvised. Maybe some have not even acted, and you guys still, know how to teach them, and they know how to handle it. So if anyone's interested, they can just visit improvwizards.com.
Improvwizards.com. Yep. And anybody who's actually listening right here live, if you want to, we're actually doing a free improv workshop this Saturday. So to improvwizards.com/workshop and go if you go right to the link there in the fortune cookie, I've linked it. Just click on the link, and it's improvwizards.com/workshop. For any of you that are not here live on Fireside or listening to the stream or to the replay, by all means, or to the podcast at a future date. But you do these every now and then, so it's not just this Saturday in May. Yeah, there will be some more. Yep,
there will be.
Yeah, there will be more. We love to do that. We're launching a huge new thing this Saturday, so people will find out about it. It's I can let the cat out of the bag a little bit, but it's basically like this. It's an Improv Wizards membership where we're going to be doing monthly improv classes, and then also have our online materials available, and we're going to do some really fun stuff as a membership. And so we're going to be launching that this Saturday, but this Saturday is free. This Saturday free workshop. And yeah, we love doing it. You mentioned how we've been doing, particularly Lincoln has been spearheading doing a lot of these free improv workshops really on Clubhouse, mm-hmm. In the social audio space. And we've loved doing that. And I mean, that is just enormous value to be able to do that for free. And, I was thinking about this yes and, because I also brought that up because we, when we're teaching improv, like that whole principle of yes and, that's like it's such a core principle of improv. When your scene partner says something, don't deny what they said, accept it and build upon it. Let that be one of the huge building blocks. But what a lot of people don't do, or what gets lost sometimes, is we have a hesitation to yes and ourselves. Like we have a thought come into our mind, and we don't yes and that thought. So when you're really doing well with improv and you're in the groove, you just start to trust your mind and trust these instincts. You don't self critique, and you don't self edit, and you trust those things, and There's a big principle to yes anding yourself, I think, also when it comes to creativity, brainstorming. Speaking of LinkedIn, like LinkedIn Seb, we got to connect because there, as you know, Paul, there's so much crossover when it comes to improv training for any business-minded people, any entrepreneurs, anybody,
Sure.
when it comes to teamwork and leadership. There are so many important improv principles that do really wonders for people who are in the business world. And so that's another thing that we want to start doing is on LinkedIn, growing a presence there and going more into that as well. We have a lot of people who have signed up for an entrepreneur improv workshop that we're going to be doing. So that's going to be fun to do, but it really is something that not only helps your acting, but helps so much of what you do in life.
Wonderful. Well, if there's any way that you would need me or want me to get involved, whether it's just helping you promote it, I'd be more than happy. Or you can come back and we can even do some kind of mini workshop here, or on LinkedIn. Lincoln on LinkedIn, because that really speaks to me. The power of yes and for business. And when I first got, I think on Wisdom or on one of these other social audio apps, I had something over 1,400 people come through because I put yes and an improv technique for business, I think I called it. And it really spoke to a lot of people because, improv is not just for us geeky theater folks and to do comedy. As a matter of fact, you're not supposed to go for the joke. I interviewed Susan Messing not too long ago, and it's not like you're not going for the joke. The more serious, the better. And it's listening and it's yes-anding. And I really love what you said because that's something I really hadn't thought of is giving ourselves permission, saying yes and to ourselves. What Del Close, one of the things that he taught us was, like all these things we were able to do when we were kids, when we were playing. And you'll probably see this with your child, that everything is yes. And you're this, yes, yes. And we do that with each other as we grow up. And then I think as we start becoming adults, that's when the no or no but or no maybe or maybe no
or yes but or
yes but it starts creeping into the cycle. Now there's nothing wrong, I think, with taking a few seconds or a split second, especially if you're with an improviser who's not going to just there's silence, I got to talk. But if you're with a fellow improviser, taking a few moments to look at the different decisions of which path you can go and then choosing that more interesting path. But you're right. We shouldn't deny any of them. That is something that really hit me. That's great. It's important to say yes and to ourselves.
Yes, very, very important. Shameless plug, Paul. But we actually have we've started creating like these little power courses. We call them power courses, which are like mini courses, online courses with some video tutorial, but then a lot of practice videos that people can actually practice improv on their own. And the first one that we put out is called Yes and Yourself. So it's actually called Yes and Yourself because that's one of the big principles that we try to teach in there. And it's just so powerful. Interesting. A funny side note. I've told this story before. You might have heard me tell this story before, but I went to a wedding. Who was an actor, comedy guy. And he was getting married to a girl who was also an actress and also a dancer. And they had their wedding. And in their vows, they said, standing across from each other in their wedding garb, they said, "I will always yes and you."
Oh.
And like at first it was like, come on, that's so cheesy.
Yeah,
but then I've thought about it ever since then. And I thought, that is amazing. It's just so wonderful. It's so wonderful. For anyone who's been in relationships, the power of yes-anding in a relationship is so incredible. It's so tiring when you're in a relationship if somebody is just constantly denying you or constantly, whatever it might be. But instead, when you're in an environment of this constructive building, it's so wonderful. So I sort of repented in my heart for at the time thinking that it was a little too cheesy. Like a little eye roll.
But it really hit me, man.
Yeah.
Is that why you have a baby now? The power of yes and?
That's right. And it was yes and all the way to the baby. Yes.
You have what, one child? What is it, a baby
No,
girl?
we have a few. We have a few children.
Oh, you do? Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I didn't know
We do.
that.
It's we've got a wonderful family there. They're the greatest and worst of moments for us.
It was the best of times and the worst of times.
So true. It's so true. What is that? Steinbeck. He was doing nothing but writing about parenting. That's what I feel like.
It was a parenting handbook. Wonderful. Well, Eric, and man, I would love to. I mean, you tell me when you have time to do this again, or when you're ready to promote, something as well. Because we could Joe Rogan this, and I could go on forever because you have such an interesting story. Yeah. There's also so many more questions. What's been like your favorite? What shows have you worked on, or movies, or what's been your favorite? Or your favorite people to work with, or that you've taught improv to. There's just so much. So anything that you want to cover, and then maybe we can invite some people up because I know that I think a few people might have questions for you. And would you be willing to answer some either improv questions or?
Yeah, happy to. I have a little bit of time left, so yeah, happy to. Yeah, we can go. We can cover. We can trade acting stories another time. I think it's always fun. I think we got a lot of fun acting stories for sure that we could share at some point.
I have a little quick one that has to do with acting, and I probably shouldn't even tell it because I just told it on the last podcast. But I have a friend, Marcio Rosario, whom I did The Bold and the Beautiful with. And it kind of speaks to the power of yes and. So we get hired, we're Latino, so of course we're bad guys, we're thugs. And we're kidnappers specifically. We've kidnapped Ron Moss, the star of Bold and the Beautiful, and we've taken him down to some Latin American country that doesn't exist. But we've kidnapped him. And, so I meet him the first day, and he's this big, imposing guy. And I think now he's maybe somewhat famous in Brazil, and also lives in Portugal, goes back and forth. So he's like, hey, can you help me with the script? Because it was in Spanish. We had Spanish lines, and I'm like, it's in Spanish. He goes, I don't know Spanish. I'm like, how do you not know Spanish? He goes, I'm Brazilian. I go, oh. I go, well, how'd you get the job? He goes, well, I told him I speak Spanish.
Oh.
So the thing is, I would just help them with the lines. They didn't know because for them, Portuguese, Spanish was all the same thing anyways. So at least he was able, but I think that speaks to the power of maybe it's also fake it till you make it. But he just said, yeah, I speak Spanish. Of course, look at me. Of course, didn't speak Spanish. And then he told me a great story about being in Japan and doing a film with a very famous, I guess, Japanese director who likes to shoot once and then move on. And he was, and the kind of guerrilla style, no permits, nothing, but he's like this famous director and makes huge movies. And there was this fight scene or something was going on a train that they didn't even pay to be there. So they, normally do it once and then moving on. So the translator tells Marcio, he goes, director wants you to improve. And he goes, what? He goes, okay, yeah. Okay, let's do it again. So, he tries it and he tries to do better. And, and then the director's like, cut, and then you can tell that the director's getting heated after like the second or third time. He goes, please, you must improve, please. And Marcio's like, how the fuck am I going to make this better? Like, how can I improve? Like, I'm an actor. And it turns out that the guy wanted him to improv.
Oh, no. That is great.
He goes, different line. He goes, you mean improv? He goes, yes, improve, please.
Oh, that's great.
So,
that is great. That is great. Oh, why didn't you say so?
Why didn't you say so?
Yeah, and you know what, Paul? That also speaks to how important improv is, right?
Yes.
Like, because here's a director like wanting people to improvise, like that. Man, so often directors would be like, all right, let's do another and just like make it your own, or just do whatever you want to do. And if you're not used to improvising, that's terrifying.
That's what I loved about in-person auditions, because the especially like for commercials, like, can we do a different read on that? Or can you guys just improvise? We're like, yeah, 100%. You look at your partner, you're like, you studied improv? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, we got this. I did that via Zoom with someone else, even though that the person that asked to improvise probably wasn't an improviser, because they're like, okay, you two are, and I literally almost told the guy, like, shut the fuck up and just give us a suggestion and we got this. Because I asked her, I'm like, have you studied improv? She goes, yeah, Second City or whatever. I go, okay, great. So we're sitting there and you can see both of us looking at the guy telling us, okay, you guys are like, husband and wife, and he's giving us all this stuff. And I think she and I were thinking, because we DM'd afterwards, and she goes, I was just going to tell him to shut up. I go, me too. Just give us a suggestion. We got this, so, but I used to love that about the in-persons, where they can really see your range and how you can think on your feet and switch things around real fast. So it's the most important thing. One of the most important tools, I think, to have in your toolbox as an actor, as a performer, and like we said, relationships, business, etc. I think Bob Dassey and Stephanie Weir, two brilliant improvisers that are a couple, hope they're still together, wrote a great book on relationships and the power of yes and.
I'll have to check that out. Out.
Well, if anybody would like to come up, by all means, just ask to come up and we can bring you up. Let me invite Chris up. No pressure, but Chris, wonderful. Chris, welcome. Let me invite you to camera if you'd like to join us. You can see that I'm blind invite to video. Welcome, Chris. I know that you're also very camera shy because you're a voiceover guy, but welcome.
Thank you so much. And what a great afternoon and what a great conversation. I really appreciate what you're doing, Paul. Yes, and I appreciate Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Good to meet you.
That's how it works.
Great information here. Anyway, very quickly, here in San Francisco, we have something that we do in our family, my wife, my daughter, and myself, every night. We have something called TikTok Theater. And so throughout the day, we have saved to our favorites list funny and amusing and inspirational TikToks. And then we gather in the living room and we put them on the big screen and we sit together and have a big laugh before we go to sleep at night. So TikTok can be used for good, my friends. And so, Eric, you're on our list, buddy.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. You know what? It's so true. And Chris, I love that. That's such a fun, you know what that also is like, that's so, because your kids are going to be watching it, right? And Chris, if you're still up, I can't tell who's like up or not, but
he's still here. He muted himself. I think.
Great. Chris, how old's your daughter, if you don't mind?
25.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's great. Cause I was going to say, like, even, a way to sort of embrace what your kid's going to be doing and consuming anyway. Right. And like making it fun in that way. I think that's really great. And it's true. I spoke to a huge youth group a little while ago about the power of using social media for good and how, it has huge pitfalls, particularly when it comes to young people, but you can use it for good. And that's an awesome example of using it for good.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and please, Chris, no judgment. If you guys watch it if you go watch any of my TikToks for TikTok Theater, there's no judgment.
No. You're on our list. And I'll tell you something else. I do a little TikTok myself. I have tens of followers. Anyway, I ride a mobility scooter. I'm a 65-year-old gentleman. I'm one of the oldest people on TikTok, perhaps. And I ride a mobility scooter and I do something called The Streets of San Francisco, a free to laugh now production. So anyway, I go around the streets and I film. And one of the things that I do that I love so much is to go up to people who are looking at their phones, standing on the corners outside of restaurants, obviously waiting for rides. And I pull up on my little mobility scooter and I say, "Did you call Uber?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hop on." So we have a lot of fun with that. My question is, how often should you post on TikTok? Thank you so much for all the help.
Oh, Chris, great question. As often as you want. As often. It's a terrible answer, but so TikTok particularly has a specific way that they treat their algorithm that it's important to be consistent. Just as a creator, it's important to be consistent. But for TikTok, they treat every post as an individual piece of content, and so your account, every video has a chance of sort of it going viral, and somebody with millions of followers can get terrible engagement on videos, and somebody with not can get great engagement on some videos. So really, my advice would be posting as often as you feel comfortable posting. I mean, consistency is important. But for that platform, there are creators who find great success posting every day. There are creators who find great success posting a couple times a week. There are creators who found great success posting multiple times a day. So that it's more to how you feel yourself.
Great answer. I love that. From the things that we've discussed on our TikTok group, on Instagram and Clubhouse, if you want to, the people I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that do grow it are posting like 4 times a day. But that's what they've dedicated their life to. I mean, that's their job basically. But then again, Chris is retired, so what else is he going to do besides?
Yeah, Chris, come on, just post as many times as you want, Chris. Chris, I got a great idea for you. I love giving ideas. I also work with a company called Collab. It's a digital network. I've got to go in a couple minutes, Paul, but here's an idea. I love giving ideas to creators. When you go up to somebody and instead narrate what they're doing in your radio narration voice. So like you go up and this is not an original idea. It's not an original idea. I've seen other people do something similar, but like you can go up there and say, and as he texted his girlfriend, she replied with a "No way, Jose," or something like that, and then just capture their reaction. It can be a fun.
That's good. Eric, man, I really want to thank you for spending all this time with us and here on Fireside. And if I would encourage you, if you'd like, at least to apply to be a content creator. They just started. I'm not sure if we're going to get any of it, but they just started like $100 million fund because they just partnered up with Skate, which is an NFT company for like content creators and all this. I don't know all the details. This just happened yesterday. So I would encourage you, if you want, I'll send you the link so you can apply.
Yes, please do. Please do.
And to Fireside as a content creator, because I think you and Lincoln, and maybe, you're gracious enough to allow me to come and play with you guys. We could do some great stuff here on Fireside and create, show, even if it's like a proof of concept show, like, we can do it for each from home with our cameras and then try and sell it. I don't know. I have an improv game show that I'm working on. So if you don't mind, maybe I'll reach out to you with that. My agent has, my manager, I should say, has all that information. But
yeah, let's connect for sure, Paul. Let's connect.
And I'd love to have Lincoln on here also. So maybe, did your eyebrow grow back? Because I know that you lost it in a TikTok. How do you make it disappear? Is that a proprietary secret?
Oh no, it came right off. No, it was just video editing magic.
Okay. Wonderful.
So it was fake. It was fake. It was fake. And it's, and this can be another conversation at some point, but certainly that idea came from another idea that somebody was using. And then I decided to put a twist on it. And that one blew up as well.
I love it. So folks, please visit the improvwizards.com/workshop for this complimentary free workshop this Saturday. What's the date on this Saturday, if you don't mind?
This Saturday is May 14th.
May 14th. So if you're listening to this before May, please, join this workshop. You won't be sorry, because the information. And then quickly, your clubhouse rooms, are you doing them on a set schedule on Saturday?
Yeah, those are happening Saturdays and Sunday mornings. And under the Actors Breakfast Club. And so you can go check that out as well.
Great. So is there anything else? Do you have any final thoughts or anything else you'd like to promote? We'd be more than happy to hear those. Or
It's been a great conversation, Paul. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, and let's keep connecting and help bring some more magic to the world. I love to put a smile on people's faces, and I know you do too.
100%.
And anybody can put a smile on people's faces. So yeah, come on over to improvwizards.com. Check it out. I appreciate you letting us talk about it as well. And come on to the socials, Instagram, TikTok, come say hi. Always love connecting with people on those.
Do you follow people back on TikTok? And if you do,
I do. So I'll have to make sure I follow you back. Yes.
Please, so. I follow you. So I know, again, that's not what it's about. It doesn't define us, but it's good. High tide rises all boats. So yes, I love that saying. So thank you, folks. My ask is please visit vato.tv or paulvato.com. Where then you can find all of my socials. But more importantly, this is a brand new podcast. So, season 2, it's already out there on iTunes and Spotify and across all the social platforms, all the podcasting platforms. But it's really important if you could at least just give it a follow and a 5-star review. Eric, I'll send you the link when yours is up, and probably next week sometime, because I batched a lot. So I put up 3 this week. I think 5 will be total up this week. Maybe if another 5 next week, 5 the following week. So apparently the first 2 weeks are the most important time in a podcast life. So if you guys could just do me a huge favor, go to Spotify and iTunes, give it a follow, give it a 5 stars, and if you can, please leave a review. And most of my interviews are just like this, laid back and a little funny, but I think very informational. So if you got value from it, please do that. And Eric, once again, I think you just threw your baby somewhere, so you might want to go check in on your baby.
I will. Thank you, Paul. It's been wonderful. And thanks everyone for listening. Great.
Thank you, folks. Thanks for being here. Much appreciated. Back to the weight box.
Yeah, love it. Take care.
Take care. Eric, thank you. Folks, thank you guys so much. I think you can still hear me, so thank you guys so much for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Visit one of my sponsors, Club TV. If you want to play poker and win seats to Wolf of the Poker, DM me. I'll send you the link. Vato I know that a lot of you don't subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. Vato.tv. Please follow the podcast.